Hey guys, and welcome to my little sort of vlog slash review sort of thing of the new 4 episodes of the revival series of Twin Peaks. So Twin Peaks is one of my favourite TV shows ever. I actually recently got the Blu-ray box set. I got it a few months ago, and pretty much I've watched it all back again, apart from a few episodes in Season 2, which I skipped because Season 2, I think pretty much everyone agrees, is not very good, and there's not a lot you really need to see to get the whole story. But I watched the majority of the series in preparation for the new revival, and I was very, very excited for it because David Lynch is one of my favourite directors. He's directed some fantastic movies, including Fire Walk With Me, the Twin Peaks movie. Other films I love by him are The Elephant Man, Blue Velvet, Lost Highway, which I did a review of a couple years ago. Yeah, I was incredibly excited. This series, and unlike the second series of Twin Peaks anyway, David Lynch actually got full control of the entire show, and so there was a lot of hype around it, and I stayed up till 2 in the morning last night to watch the first 2 episodes, and the 3rd and 4th episodes went online straight away afterwards as well. But after the first 2 episodes, I needed some sleep because I couldn't comprehend what I just watched, basically. That's not to say it's bad or anything, that's just David Lynch. I think this is the first visual project he's done anyway since his last film, Inland Empire, which was like 10 years ago, which I've heard is like one of his weirdest films to date. Unlike the original series, the new Twin Peaks definitely is more similar to the sort of films that David Lynch has been making later on in his career. It's definitely more slow and atmospheric than the original show, and it's kind of similar to things like Mulholland Drive and Lost Highway in that sense. If you go into the new series expecting it to be sort of as weird yet quirky and like soap opera-esque as it was originally, you're going to be incredibly disappointed because this show is completely different. Although I think the original is kind of a straight drama with bits of comedy and some horror elements as well, this show is kind of a straight horror show, and honestly, I really enjoyed the first few episodes. I was expecting with the series they'd probably either go in one or two directions. They'd either pretty much just recreate the original show and it wouldn't be as good, or they'd kind of move on from that and do something completely new and unique and completely different to the original show, and they actually did the latter of the two with this new show. I've got some problems with it, but for the most part I really liked what happened in the first few episodes. The first 2 episodes especially are probably 2 of the most surreal and strange things I think I've really ever seen. If you know David Lynch, he does a lot of really strange things, and he is a big believer in creating these weird images that are kind of like dreamlike, and they're unlike anything you'll ever see, and because of that, those images will stick in your mind for the rest of your life. There was a lot of that in Twin Peaks, especially in the Red Room sequences, and there's been pretty much all of the first 2 episodes were pretty much that. So there was a lot of Red Room sequences actually in the first 2 episodes, which I was really happy about because the Red Room is one of the most memorable moments in the original series. I don't want to spoil the story of it, so I won't really get into that in this video, but the story is it's like logically what you'd expect the follow-up to be. After the show kind of originally introduced all these weird supernatural elements, I don't think there was ever going to be them going back to the quirky style of the original show. So yeah, it's a lot darker, a lot more surreal than the original show. It kind of feels like the spiritual successor to the Fire Walk With Me movie, which a lot of people were mixed upon. A lot of people didn't really like the dark, violent direction that it took. But I personally really loved the movie. So your enjoyment on the series is really going to be dependent on whether you liked that movie. If you wanted something more comedic and less on the nose and more subtle in its weirdness, that's not this new series. This new series is kind of the Red Room sequences extended out into like a 9-hour thing, mixed with elements of Mulholland Drive and stuff like that. I personally think David Lynch is on his A game in this. The acting in it is really, really good as well. Kyle MacLachlan just blows it away. Like, his performance is incredible in every single episode I've watched so far. I don't want to spoil it, but he kind of plays two different parts really, really well, and it's just incredible watching him do these completely different personalities in the way he does. Also, there's some of the older actors are brought back, not as many as I was expecting. I know they've released the list of the people who are going to be in it, the huge cast, and a lot of the older members of the show I think will probably be brought into later on in the series, because in the first 4 episodes there's not really that many old characters that return, and most of the ones that do return in like episode 1 or 2. That's kind of what I was expecting, really. I was expecting it to kind of blend in the old cast with the new cast, kind of like in a Force Awakens sort of way, and they pretty much have done that. The new cast is a lot more prominent in the show, especially in the first 2 episodes. I keep talking about the first 2 episodes, but for me the first 2 were the ones that stuck out the most, although I think 3 and 4 are fantastic as well. Those 2 pretty much just focus solely on Kyle MacLachlan's character, but the first 2 were definitely the weirder ones so far. The first episode, for a lot of the episode, I was kind of confused and left wondering, what does this have to actually do with Twin Peaks? And that was kind of what I was feeling with when I first watched Mulholland Drive. I was like, what are all these storylines? How do they link together? And in like classic Lynch style, they kind of come together at the end, and it all makes sense in the end. You will completely understand why these different stories are in there, and I think that was really, really smart and well executed in the show. If there's something I think a lot of people will be kind of mixed on the most about the show, is probably its pace. It's very, very slow at times, which I think David Lynch has been doing quite a lot ever since like Lost Highway and stuff, so I was kind of expecting it to be like that. But there are moments where it can get a little bit frustrating, like a scene where there's a new character who he has this mundane job of basically looking at this box and seeing if anything in this box changes. And there's a long, like 10-minute sequence of him just sitting there staring at the box, getting up, changing the SD cards in the camera, and that's pretty much just it. So yeah, it's a little bit strange and can get a bit annoying at times. And the 3rd and I think the 4th episode especially does kind of start to get a little bit repetitive in my opinion. I know they're trying to drag some stuff out and it doesn't really work too well. There's basically one final goal for the series, and they're trying to put it off pretty much until to the last episode, and it's not kind of like the murder of Laura Palmer in the original show, where they can drag it out and keep finding new things and get closer and closer to it. This one, it's gonna lead up to this final sort of battle sort of thing, and yeah, they're kind of drawing it out as much as they can, which is a little bit evident at times and can be a little bit annoying. But there are some strange and mysterious moments in there as well. There's some elements of the old police people, especially Deputy Hawk, trying to investigate this. I don't want to spoil it, but there's a thing that happens. Someone tells them about something and they're trying to investigate into that. If there's another big flaw I have, is that the music isn't too great. Like, they made a big deal about bringing back the original composer of the show, and the music in the original show is kind of what gives it a lot of its identity, and this soundtrack and score kind of just feels like an average horror score, nothing like really impressive. Or there's a few callbacks to the original score, but they don't really have the same impact as they did in the show. And I don't know if they'll come in later on in the show, and I know there's going to be another series, so maybe the second series will have a little bit more, but as it is at the moment, I think the music is definitely lacking a bit. But yeah, as I said, this is a really, really good show in my opinion. I'm really, really enjoying it. It's weird, surreal, nightmarish. I don't really know what's going on a lot of the time, but that gives it kind of this dreamlike sort of feeling that I think David Lynch does really, really well. The acting is really good as well. This writing on it is really fantastic as well. There's some surprising actors that come in I was not expecting. A couple of them I did know about, but other ones that come in are pretty notable actors. I just wasn't expecting them to be in the show, and they kind of took me off guard. I personally really dig this new series of Twin Peaks so far, and I can't wait for the rest of it. I'm sorry about how unprepared this video was. I just kind of set up the microphone, got the camera up, and that was kind of it. I just wanted to ramble on about my thoughts on the new show. So yeah, did you watch the new Twin Peaks? If so, what was your opinion on it? Let me know in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.